Hey everybody, Jack Clips Painting here with another tutorial, just a tip series. And today we are painting a space wolf. So we got our model here, and space wolves don't like helmets, so I'm going to be doing a painting faces tutorial as well in this video. And we're going to start off with some Stynylrez black primer, go all over this guy, get the main body and the head nice and primed up with that, and go from there. Alright, starting with our first color in the armor workup, we're going to be spraying some sombre gray from Vallejo Game Air. This is a really nice kind of dark bluish gray, and I'm going to be doing a base coat on the model all over with this. With the exception of our angle of attack, I'm going to try not to spray underneath the model. So I'm going to be holding the airbrush at kind of a 90-degree or higher angle while spraying this, so that our deepest shadows in the model can remain very dark and black. Okay, and now we're going to switch to Dark Blue Pale from Vallejo Model Color. It's kind of a weird name, but this is another bluish gray. It's kind of lighter, so I'm going to start establishing our gradient for our Space Wolves armor here. And again, I'm going to be focusing on higher angles and just kind of focusing on where we want the armor to start getting brighter. So I'm going to be following kind of the center line of the main torso and the legs there, and getting the brightest points on our shoulders and our backpack, tips of the boots, things like that, so that I'm leaving a little bit of our somber gray showing through, so that way we have a nice kind of bluish gray showing on this guy's armor. That's kind of how I like to do Space Wolves. I'm not a fan of the baby blue color. I like the gray color a little bit more, so we're doing some blue grays. Okay, and now we're going to get out some Celestra gray from Citadel, and this is going to be our bright, even gray color. We're going to do some spot highlights with that, so I'm going to focus on the brightest points of the armor. You can see here kind of the very tippy tops of the backpack and the shoulder pad trim there. Kind of spot highlight some of the areas that we've established a gradient on for the rest of the body, so knees, tips of the boots, kind of the belt buckle, that kind of thing. Anywhere you want your grays to be brightest, just give it a little spot highlight there with that Celestra gray to make it pop out. And it's going to seem a little bright, but that's okay, because when you put a wash on there, it'll darken everything down just a little bit and tie all the colors together. Okay, we're going to get out some yellow ochre, and this is going to be the base coat for our shoulder pad fields. I know that there's some patterns and things like that you can do with Space Wolves, but for this guy we're just going to go with kind of the easiest way to do stuff, which is going to be just a yellow shoulder pad field. So we're going to do a base coat of the yellow ochre on the shoulder pad field there, and fill both of those in. And after you have a nice base coat filled in, we're going to go with our highlight color, and I'm mixing kind of 50-50 yellow ochre and golden yellow for model color. And very carefully we're just going to start airbrushing the shoulder pad fields there, and what this is going to do is even up our base coat, make everything kind of uniform, and also brighten it up slightly. So we're getting more into that vibrant yellow off of the kind of dull yellow ochre color, but it's going to stay kind of that nice earthy yellow that the Space Wolves have. So again, just be super careful when you're airbrushing this. Try to keep away from the shoulder pad trim and the backpack. And from there, we're gonna pull out some Flash Gets Yellow and airbrush on top of that. It's gonna make that yellow pop out a little bit more. Just again, very carefully, just focus on kind of the top area of those shoulder pads and get that field popped out. And after that, I'm just going to mix the Flash Gets Yellow with a little bit of Stynylrez white primer to have it be slightly brighter than it normally would be, and do just a little spot highlight on the yellow shoulder pad fields to pop those out a little bit brighter before we move on to the next step. And for our edge highlights, I'm going to pull out the Celestra Gray one more time and just very carefully use the side of my brush to catch the hard angle edges around the model. Remember, less is more for this step. Don't try to hit every single little detail edge. Just get the brightest hard edges and you'll be just fine. Alright, and we're going to throw a wash on this guy. We got some dark tone and some quick shade mix medium. And we're going to mix that up and put it on the model here. So just kind of slather that on. And once you got the wash all over there, get a little bit of water in your brush to help clean that up. And kind of wick away all the excess wash and keep everything nice and clean. A bit of a problem, when I mixed the wash, I accidentally put airbrush cleaner in there instead of flow improver, so when I put the wash on there and started cleaning it up, it just ripped all the paint off of there. So I do apologize for not having a finished model at the end of this, but we covered the whole workup, so it's not the end of the world there. And we're gonna focus on the head now. So first things first, mahogany brown. Using that for the base coat on this flesh workup, so we're just going to be airbrushing a nice solid base coat of mahogany brown onto the model. And then from there, we're going to pull out some Army Painter tanned flesh, and very lightly we're going to do a high angle kind of highlight over top of our mahogany brown. And just when you're doing this face workup, you want to put a little bit more flow improver into the paint mixture so it's a little thinner, so that way we're just kind of tinting over each successive color with our new highlight color, so that way our recesses stay nice and dark on that face. And after that, I'm going to pull out some barbarian flesh and kind of focus on the highlights, so like the top of the head and kind of the center line down the face, just maintaining that high spray angle so that our recesses stay nice and shaded, and highlight that up. So now we've got that going on. And then I mixed up some blue tone and some red tone to make purple tone, and I just put a couple of drops of that on the palette and just did a light wash right on top of the face with a violet color, a nice purple wash. And after I put that on there and the paint is still wet, or the wash is still wet, I'm going to pull out some Caribou Crimson wash from Citadel and kind of mix that into the wash that we already put on that purple tone. So we have like a really nice, strong, purpley red violet color to wash this face with. It's going to make the flesh tones look nice and realistic. So give this a shot, experiment with it. I think you'll like the final result. And then after that's dry, I'm gonna pull out the barbarian flesh one more time. And like I said, you want this to be excessively thin. So it's like one drop of paint and then like 4 or 5 drops of flow improver. So it's very, very transparent. And then little by little, we're gonna tint over the areas on the face that we want to be brightest again, and that way it's not going to totally knock out what we just threw a wash on there. So your recesses are going to stay shaded with that nice kind of fleshy violet color, and it creates a really, really soft, realistic looking face. And then from there, I'm going to paint the little neck seal with some model color black, just base coat that in nice and careful. And then after that, we're going to pull out our Scale 75 black metal. This is a really nice gunmetal steel color. And we're going to base coat his little helmet seal, helmet connector, heart. I don't know what these are, but the little metal parts going around the face there, whatever you want to call those. We're just going to cut that in with some Scale 75 black metal. And after that, I've got some extra opaque game color. This is heavy red, a new color I just got, so we're kind of experimenting with it here. And I'm going to give him some nice red Viking hair to go along with our Space Wolves theme. So I'm just going to base coat his mohawk with that heavy red. And first impression, this paint is actually really, really cool for base coating. It goes on like a dream. So highly recommend you check out some of these extra opaque game colors. And then after that, I'm going to get out some flat red from Vallejo Model Color. And the way that I like to do hair is just kind of find where the hair would kind of be the brightest, like the shiniest from the light reflecting, and then just do a bunch of little hash marks to give us some nice hair texture. So just kind of keep it in green with the hair kind of mohawk haircut, and then just do a bunch of little hash marks on the brighter areas. And from there, we're going to pull out some Wild Rider Red and highlight that one more time. Just very thin, a bunch of little hash marks, kind of catch the hard edge of the hair there to give it kind of an edge highlight. And then kind of near the point tip of the mohawk there, and then around the crown of the head where our little hair shine is going to be, do a bunch of little hash marks to highlight that up. And then to finish everything off, I'm going to pull out some soft body black from Secret Weapon Miniatures, and then just do kind of a pin wash around our little metal bits. So trying to keep that off of the face, being very careful that it's only getting in the recesses on our little metal bits. And then I'm going to wash around some of the circuitry and connectors, I guess you could call them, on his head. So he's got this one little wire looking thing and a little nub that's sticking out that I guess they're helmet connectors of some kind, 40K stuff. And just kind of get that seam line between the mohawk and the top of the head, just to kind of pop the mohawk off the top of the head a little bit better. And our last little step is I'm going to pull out some heavy skin tone and pick out his little scar on his face. He's got a scar that we're just going to pick out with that. And that'll be it. Got a nice face for our Space Wolves going on. Again, I am sorry about the mess up with the armor workup with that airbrush cleaner, but you got to see all of the steps before that for the armor workup, so just don't mix your wash with airbrush cleaner and you'll be fine. So catch us next time for another episode of the Just a Tip series, and if you haven't already, find me over on Twitch for all of the live shows, and I'll catch y'all next time.